The bathroom door exploded inward with a crack so loud it felt like a gunshot. Nia Holloway screamed as the wood split, splinters slicing her cheek. Her back slammed against the tiled wall, and pain tore through her right arm so violently her vision went white. She slid down, clutching it, feeling the bone shift wrong beneath her skin. Blood dripped onto the cold floor, mixing with tears she didn't remember crying. Outside the bathroom, Caleb's voice stayed calm. Too calm. "You shouldn't have made me angry, Nia." She tried to crawl away, but there was nowhere to go. The bathtub pressed into her spine. Her breath came out in short, broken gasps. Her phone lay inches away, the screen cracked, buzzing from the impact. Caleb's shadow filled the doorway. Her hand shook as she grabbed the phone. If you're enjoying this story so far, besties, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment where you're watching from. Trust me, you'll want to stay till the very end. "Nia," Caleb said softly, stepping inside. "Look at what you made me do." Her chest tightened. She had heard those words before, every time, before the apologies, before the flowers, before the next beating. She fumbled with the screen, her fingers slick with blood. She didn't dare call the police. Last time they'd looked at her bruises and looked at Caleb's brother's badge and told her to stop exaggerating. She typed with one hand, "Mom, please help me." "He broke my arm. I'm locked in the bathroom." Her vision blurred. The phone vibrated before she could think. She didn't check the number. She just hit send. The battery icon flashed red, 5%. Caleb crouched in front of her, his face inches from hers. His eyes weren't angry anymore. They were empty. "You always run to someone else," he said, "but there's no one coming." The phone buzzed again. "Unknown number. Where are you?" Nia stared at the screen, confused. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might burst. "Wrong number," she typed back, her breath hitching. "Please ignore." She hesitated, then typed again. "Actually, please, I need help." Caleb noticed the glow from the phone. His hand shot out, grabbing her wrist. She cried out as pain exploded through her broken arm. "Who are you texting?" he demanded. The phone slipped from her fingers and skidded across the floor. Caleb snatched it up, reading the screen. He laughed. "A stranger?" he scoffed. "You really are desperate." He tossed the phone into the bathtub. It clattered, screen still lit. "Unknown number. I'm coming." Caleb froze. "What kind of stupid game is this?" he muttered. Nia didn't answer. She couldn't. Hope and terror crashed together in her chest. She pressed herself against the wall, whispering prayers in Yoruba under her breath. Words her grandmother used to say when danger felt too close. Minutes passed. Or seconds. She couldn't tell. Then the front door, downstairs, slammed open. Heavy footsteps. More than one. Caleb's head snapped up. "What the hell?" The sound of glass shattering cut him off. Nia's heart slammed against her ribs. Caleb stood, suddenly alert, anger flashing into something sharper. Fear. He moved toward her again, grabbing her by the collar. "Stay quiet," he hissed. "Whatever happens, you don't say a word." The hallway filled with voices. Calm, controlled, male. Caleb dragged her toward the door, but before he reached it, the bathroom filled with blinding light. A man in black stepped in, weapon raised, eyes cold. "Let her go." Caleb laughed, wild now. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." The man didn't blink. Two more appeared behind him, then another. Caleb released Nia slowly, hands raised. The man in front lowered his weapon just enough to look at her. She saw him then, tall, immaculate suit, no rage in his face, No pity either, just certainty. "Nia Holloway," he said quietly, "you're safe now." Her knees gave out. Strong arms caught her before she hit the floor. Caleb shouted, struggled, cursed. The sound faded as Nia's world narrowed to pain, heat, and the steady voice near her ear. "My name is Jin Seo-Ryun," the man said. "Stay with me." She woke in the back of a moving vehicle, lights humming softly overhead. The smell of antiseptic filled her nose. Her arm was splinted, wrapped tight. Every breath hurt. A woman leaned over her, calm and efficient. "I'm Dr. Han. You're going to be okay." Nia turned her head slowly. Jin sat across from her, hands folded, eyes watching her, not hungrily, not possessively, like he was guarding something fragile. "Why?" she whispered. "You don't even know me." He met her gaze. "I know enough." Her eyelids fluttered. "You're dangerous." A pause. "Yes," he said, "but not to you." The vehicle slowed. Somewhere far away, sirens wailed. When she woke again, she was in a quiet apartment, clean, secure, too perfect. Jin stood near the window, phone pressed to his ear. "She stays," he said. "No cameras inside. No one touches her without consent." He ended the call and turned to her. "You don't owe me anything," he said. "You can leave when you want." Nia laughed weakly, tears sliding into her hair. "I don't even know how to exist without someone telling me what to do." Jin didn't step closer. "Then we start there," he said. And for the first time in 6 years, the silence around her didn't feel like a threat. Nia didn't sleep that first night. Every time her eyes closed, the sound of the bathroom door splitting open replayed in her head. She felt the snap in her arm again, sharp and blinding, followed by Caleb's voice, low, calm, terrifying. She lay on the wide bed Jin had given her, staring at the ceiling, counting her breaths the way a nurse once taught her after a panic attack. In, out, slow. It barely helped. The apartment was too quiet. No shouting, no footsteps pacing outside her door, no slammed furniture, no sudden anger she had to predict before it exploded. She hated how unfamiliar peace felt. Just before dawn, the door creaked softly. Her body reacted before her mind did. She jolted upright, heart racing, pain flaring through her injured arm. "I'm not coming in," Jin said from the doorway, his voice calm and steady. "I just wanted to check if you're awake." "I am," she whispered, swallowing hard. "There's food in the kitchen. Eat if you can. If not, that's okay too." He stepped away and closed the door gently. That unsettled her more than control ever had. By midday, she forced herself out of bed. Her legs felt weak, untrustworthy. The kitchen was spotless. On the counter sat a tray, rice, stew, bottled water, pain medication carefully labeled. She tried to eat. The smell alone made her stomach twist violently. She gagged, gripping the counter as nausea surged through her. "Trauma," she muttered to herself. "It's just trauma." She rinsed her face at the sink, catching her reflection. Bruised cheek, swollen eye, stitches pulling tight against dark skin. She barely recognized herself. A knock came at the door. Her chest tightened instantly. "It's Jin," came his voice. "I won't come in unless you say so." "You can," she said after a pause. He entered slowly, hands visible, posture relaxed but alert. "You didn't eat," he observed. "I tried." He nodded, no judgment. "Dr. Han will check your arm later." Silence stretched. "What did you do to him?" she asked quietly. "He's being held," Jin replied. "For now." "And his brother?" "We're handling that." She let out a breath that sounded half like a laugh. "You make it sound simple." "It isn't," he said. "It's necessary." Later that afternoon, Jin said something unexpected. "I want to take you out." Her body stiffened immediately. Out. Where? Somewhere quiet. Public. Safe, he said evenly. If you don't want to go, we won't. She hesitated. Fear rose first, then something else. Something she hadn't allowed herself in years. I'll go, she said softly. They drove to a small garden cafe tucked between tall trees. Sunlight filtered through the leaves. Birds chirped. People laughed softly at nearby tables. Life moved on like nothing terrible had ever happened. Jin chose a table away from others and sat across from her. Not too close. She wrapped both hands around her cup of tea, staring into the steam. This feels strange, she murmured. How so? No one's watching me. No one's timing how long I stay. He studied her quietly. Was it always like that? She swallowed. No, it wasn't. He waited. When I met him, she began, voice trembling. Caleb was kind. He listened. He made me feel seen. He said I was strong, beautiful. Her throat tightened. The first time he hit me, he cried afterward. He apologized, said stress made him lose control, promised it would never happen again. She laughed bitterly. And I believed him. Jin didn't interrupt. It started small, she continued. Then it became normal, and every time there were apologies, flowers, tears. Her hands shook. He didn't like my friends, said they disrespected him, then my family, said they judged him. Her voice broke. One by one they stopped visiting, calling. She stared at the table. By the time the hitting got worse, I didn't even know who I was anymore. I'm sorry, Jin said quietly, for what he did, for what he took. Something loosened in her chest. That evening, Dr. Han examined her again, healing but slow. Your body has been under prolonged stress, she explained gently. Rest matters. The days that followed were calm. Jin never forced conversation, never touched her without permission, but her body betrayed her more often. Dizziness, sudden nausea, weakness that came without warning. She ignored it, until she couldn't. At Northbridge Youth Studio, she was helping a little girl choose paint colors when the room suddenly tilted. The sounds around her dulled, like she was underwater. Auntie, the child asked, are you okay? Nia opened her mouth, but her legs gave out. She fell. The last thing she saw was the child's terrified face. Voices rushed in. Someone shouted her name. Someone called for help. Her phone slipped from her pocket, skidding across the floor. Ms. Park's hands shook as she picked it up. Call the number marked emergency, she said frantically. The call connected on the first ring. Jin Seo-Ryun, he answered. She collapsed, Ms. Park cried. She won't wake up. Silence. Then urgency. I'm on my way. Jin reached the studio before the ambulance. He barely remembered the drive. He burst through the doors, heart pounding, fear sharp and unfamiliar. Nia lay on the floor, pale, motionless, her breathing shallow. Her name tore from his chest. Nia. No response. The ambulance was delayed. Traffic. Distance. Jin didn't wait. She's coming with me, he said, lifting her carefully into his arms. As he drove, his grip tightened on the steering wheel. He kept glancing at her, fear clawing through his composure. Stay with me, he whispered. Please. The ambulance siren finally wailed behind them, following as he sped toward the hospital. Jin didn't slow down. Nia woke slowly, like she was being pulled back into her body one painful inch at a time. At first, there was only sound, the soft, rhythmic beep of a monitor, distant footsteps, the murmur of voices she couldn't understand. Then came sensation, the weight of blankets, the dull ache in her arm, a tightness in her chest that made every breath feel deliberate, intentional. She tried to move. Pain answered immediately. A soft gasp escaped her lips. "She's awake." The voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the fog in her head, familiar, steady. Nia turned her face slightly. The ceiling lights were too bright, forcing her to squint. When her vision cleared, she saw Jin sitting beside the bed. His jacket was draped over the chair. His hair was slightly out of place, like he'd run his hands through it one too many times. For a moment, she just stared at him. He was watching her the way someone watches a fragile thing, carefully, afraid to touch in case it breaks. "You're in the hospital," he said quietly. "You collapsed at the center." Her throat felt dry. "The children, they're fine," he assured her immediately. They were worried. Ms. Park stayed with them. Relief washed through her, so strong it made her eyes burn. She swallowed. "I scared them." "You scared yourself," he said gently. "That matters too." A nurse entered the room then, checking the monitors, adjusting the drip in Nia's arm. She explained things calmly. Dehydration, exhaustion, stress. Words that sounded reasonable. Words Nia clung to because they felt safe. When the nurse left, silence filled the room again. Nia stared at her hands resting on the blanket. They were still shaking slightly. "I thought I was getting better," she whispered. "I really thought I was." Jin didn't correct her. "Healing isn't a straight line," he said. "Sometimes the body speaks when the mind is still trying to be brave." She let out a shaky breath. "I hate that my body betrays me." "It's not betrayal," he replied. "It's survival." She turned her head toward him. "You came fast." "Yes." "How?" "I didn't wait for the ambulance," he said honestly. "I couldn't." Something flickered across his face then. Fear, raw and unguarded. It surprised her. She had seen him calm under pressure, controlled even in chaos. Seeing that crack unsettled her in a different way. "You looked scared," she said softly. He didn't deny it. "I was." The door opened again, and a doctor stepped inside, older, composed, with kind eyes. She introduced herself and began explaining the tests they had run. Nia listened at first. Then she noticed the way the doctor hesitated, the way her tone shifted slightly. "There's something else," the doctor said gently. Nia's heart skipped. Her fingers tightened in the blanket. "We ran additional blood work because of the fainting and nausea," the doctor continued, "and we need to talk about the results." The room felt smaller suddenly. "You're pregnant," the doctor said. The words didn't land all at once. They echoed, bounced around inside Nia's head without meaning. Pregnant. Her breath caught. "No," she whispered. That can't be right." The doctor's expression softened. "It's early, very early." Nia shook her head slowly, tears spilling over before she could stop them. Her chest tightened painfully. "No," she repeated. "No, no, no." Jin stood abruptly, then stopped himself, grounding his hands on the edge of the bed instead of touching her. The doctor spoke gently about options, about time, about care, but Nia barely heard her. All she could see was Caleb's face in her mind. All she could hear was his voice, claiming, controlling, trapping. "This means I'm never free," Nia sobbed once the doctor left. "It means he's still tied to me." "No," Jin said firmly. "It does not." She laughed weakly through her tears. "You don't understand." "I understand fear," he said, "and I understand choice. This does not erase your autonomy." She covered her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking. "I don't know how to feel. I don't know if I'm allowed to feel anything at all." "You're allowed to feel everything," he replied quietly. Confusion, anger, even nothing. Her breathing slowly steadied, though the ache in her chest remained. After some time, the nurse returned to help her rest. Jin stayed until she fell asleep again, sitting silently, guarding her space. When she woke later, the room was dimmer. Evening light filtered through the window. Her body felt heavy, drained. Emotionally, she felt hollow. Jin was still there. "You didn't leave," she said. "No." "Why?" He considered the question carefully. "Because you shouldn't wake up alone after something like this." Tears welled again, quieter this time. Later that night, back at the apartment, the weight of everything hit her at once. The quiet, the safety, the memories. She went straight to the bathroom and locked the door, her hands moving on instinct. The sound of the lock echoed in her ears, too familiar. Her chest tightened. Her breath came fast and shallow. She slid down the wall, pressing her forehead to her knees. The room felt like it was closing in, the past bleeding into the present. Outside the door, Jin stopped when he heard the lock. "Nia," he said softly, "I'm here." She didn't answer. "I won't come in unless you ask me to," he continued. "You're not trapped. You're in control." Her hands trembled violently. She hated this part of herself, the fear that lingered long after the danger was gone. "I don't want to be like this," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I know," Jin replied, "and you don't have to fix it tonight." Minutes passed. Then slowly, she reached for the lock. When she opened the door, Jin stood a few steps back, giving her space. She leaned against the doorframe, exhausted. "I'm scared," she admitted. "That makes sense," he said. "I don't know what kind of mother I'd be," she whispered. "I barely know who I am." "You don't have to know yet," he said. "You just have to survive tonight." Something about that grounded her. She nodded weakly. As she lay in bed later, staring into the dark, her hand rested unconsciously on her stomach. Fear was still there. So was uncertainty. But beneath it all, there was something else too. Quiet, fragile, unfamiliar. The sense that, for the first time, the future was not being decided for her. And that terrified her almost as much as it gave her hope. The next morning came quietly, the way mornings always did when life was pretending to be normal. Nia woke before the sun, her body heavy, her mind already racing. For a few seconds she forgot where she was. Then reality settled in. Safe apartment, soft sheets, silence that didn't threaten her. Her arm ached dully, a reminder of how close she had come to losing everything. She shifted carefully, her hand drifting again to her stomach before she could stop herself. The realization hit her anew, sharp and breath-stealing. Pregnant. The word still felt unreal, like it belonged to someone else's life. She pressed her lips together, blinking hard. In her culture, pregnancy was supposed to be joy, celebration, family gathering around. But nothing about this felt simple or happy. It felt complicated, tangled with fear and memories she didn't want. A soft knock came at the door. "Nia," Jin's voice said gently. "I made tea." She hesitated, then answered, "You can come in." He entered slowly, carrying 2 cups. He set one on the bedside table, careful not to startle her. "I didn't know what you'd want," he said, "so I didn't assume." "Thank you," she murmured. They sat in silence for a moment, the steam rising between them. "I keep thinking," she said finally, voice low, "that my body doesn't belong to me anymore." Jin looked at her, his expression serious. "It does," he said firmly, "no matter what happened before, no matter what's happening now." She laughed softly, without humor. "He used to say my body was his because I was his wife." "That's not marriage," Jin replied. "That's ownership, and ownership is a lie." His words landed slowly, sinking into places she hadn't realized were still bruised. Later that day, Jin insisted she rest, but Naya asked to return to the youth center, even if just briefly. "I don't want to disappear again," she said. "That's how it started before." He considered it, then nodded. "I'll stay nearby." At Northbridge Youth Studio, Miss Park welcomed her with quiet relief. No questions, no pressure, just understanding. One of the children ran up to her, holding a folded piece of paper. "We thought you weren't coming back." "I'm here," Naya said, her voice thick. "I promise." As she sat with the children, guiding them gently through colors and shapes, something inside her steadied. This, being present, being useful, was part of who she was. Not just someone who had survived, but someone who could still give. But unease followed her like a shadow. She felt it when she stepped outside for air and noticed a car parked across the street. She told herself she was imagining things. Trauma made you see danger everywhere. Still, she texted Jin. "I might be overthinking, but there's a car that's been there a while." His reply came instantly. "You're not overthinking. I see it too." Her heart skipped. When she got home that evening, Jin was waiting, not anxious but alert. "Has he found me?" she asked quietly. "Not yet," he said, "but he's looking." The words settled heavily between them. That night, Nia dreamed of locked doors again, of shouting, of hands grabbing. She woke with a gasp, tears already on her cheeks. Jin was at the doorway almost immediately, as if he'd been waiting. "I'm okay," she said quickly, embarrassed. He didn't question it. "Do you want company?" She nodded. They sat in the living room, the lights dim. She wrapped a blanket around herself, feeling small. "Sometimes I think," she said slowly, "that if I had left earlier, none of this would have happened." Jin's voice was calm but firm. "Abuse is never caused by staying. It's caused by someone choosing to harm." She nodded, though doubt still lingered. Days passed. The sense of being watched didn't fade. Jin increased security quietly, without making her feel trapped. Then one afternoon, it happened. Nia was at the center alone in a hallway when she heard a voice behind her. "Long time, Nia." Her blood ran cold. She turned slowly. Caleb stood there, calm, well-dressed, smiling like nothing had ever been wrong, like he hadn't shattered her bones or her spirit. "I missed you," he said softly. Her chest tightened, fear roaring back to life. But something else rose too. Anger, resolve. "You shouldn't be here," she said, her voice shaking but loud enough to be heard. He stepped closer. "You're still my wife." She took a step back, her hand instinctively shielding her stomach. Before he could say another word, voices echoed down the hall. Jin's men moved in quickly, blocking Caleb's path. Jin himself appeared seconds later, his presence sharp, commanding. Caleb laughed. "You think you can protect her forever?" Jin didn't raise his voice. "Long enough." Police sirens sounded outside, real ones this time. As Caleb was restrained, he looked at Naya one last time, hatred burning in his eyes. "This isn't over," he spat. Naya's legs trembled, but she didn't collapse. She stood her ground, tears streaming down her face, not from fear, but from release. Jin moved closer, stopping just short of touching her. "You did well," he said quietly. She nodded, her breath shaky. "I didn't. Run?" "No," he agreed. "You didn't." As they left the building, sunlight hit her face, warm and real. For the first time in a long while, she felt the weight of the past loosen its grip. Just a little. And for now, that was enough. If this story touched your heart, If you've ever felt trapped, silenced, or afraid to start over, know that you are not alone. Besties, if you want to see how Nia's journey continues, how she heals, how she protects her child, and how she finally chooses herself, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who needs hope today. Drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from, and if you believe survival can turn into strength.